So Sophie Cunningham is a basketball player for the Indiana Fever, and if we're gonna be honest, the last week we've seen a couple of clips where I think, look, I do think that he was or she was like when she was talking previously at her on her podcast, it was like, oh, whatever my next team is, everyone's assumed he's gone from the Fever, and this is probably a look. Calm down. I may still go be with the Fever. If you guys haven't seen here, obviously, look, the Indiana Fever made sure to put. It's not just Sophie Cunningham. Or, yeah, but I don't think it was just her. I think there was a load of it. I think Coulson and stuff. So there were plenty of players that were doing this. Obviously, it was their where they were serving warm meals to people in Indiana. So, look, it's one of those things where obviously Sophie Cunningham being mic'd up it's going to get you more clicks. And the reason why I think this is kind of an important thing is because, like, look, Sophie Cunningham was a player that is currently a free agent. And if you guys don't know, she said it on her podcast plenty of times that Kathy Engelbert cannot fire her because she's no longer getting paid. She's a free agent. So Kathy Engelbert is not actually able to fire her. So not fire her, fine her. And what that means, again, is that she's doing this because she wants to, not because this is some sort of obligation. At the end of the day, look, a lot of players will do charity work. A lot of players will do charity work for whatever teams they play for in the off-season. Sometimes even during the season. NBA or WNBA players, a lot of them will do that. But the thing why it's so interesting with Sophie Cunningham is she obviously flew to Indiana. She was obviously, like, it did not seem like she was in Indiana. So she obviously flew to Indiana and then just decided, like, on her own accord that she wanted to do this, which is a good sign for the Fever, I guess. Like, it is a good sign that, one, it's a good sign she's a decent person, but I think we all kind of, like, I don't think anyone who's been, like, looking at anything with the Fever, or anyone who's just looked into Sophie Cunningham with any teammate she's ever had, like, it appears that she's a really good person. But that's just the thing, is that, like, you can do any sort of charity work in general. But the fact that it's with the organization is a decent sign. Look, it's a sign that there is still a relationship there, and clearly, if what the rumors were that talks had basically shut down in terms of free agency talks between Sophie and the Fever, that was a thought that a lot of people had, and if that was the case, she wouldn't be here. She wouldn't be in Indiana. She wouldn't be doing charity work for a team that she may not be on next season. And look, that is a positive, I guess. That is a positive for any of the Sophie fans who think that Sophie should be there. And I'm gonna be honest, for me it's an obvious thought that Sophie Cunningham should be there. Like, I think, again, if you don't have Sophie Cunningham on your team going into next season, I think it becomes real tough. I think it becomes really, really tough to win if, like, one of your top players and one of the, like, hardest to replace players in the WNBA, because there are very few players that shoot like Sophie Cunningham and are, like, just in general, that just do what she does. The way she shoots, the way she can fill in a role, the way she doesn't need the ball, the way she's a low volume player, the way, in my opinion, she's a good defender. It's not even an opinion. She is an objectively good defender. Like, she is again, look, it's more of a knock on the Fever than it is positive to Sophie to say she's arguably the best perimeter defender that they have, which is kind of scary in terms of like being a perimeter stopper. But like, I will say it, Lexi's their best defensive playmaker in terms of perimeter stopper. It's between her and Kelsey. Like neither of them are great. None of them are great on defense, to be honest. They're more of a team defensive team than an individually good defensive team. I think Aaliyah maybe is their one individually good defender. But yeah, it's a like it's just a it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one to see, and at least she is still involved in she's still involved with the Indiana Fever. She's still involved with the organization. And it means even if she does go, it's not like there's this Izzy Harrison situation, which I actually haven't talked on, so I'll talk about that tomorrow, where she literally is like, she didn't even play in the playoffs. She's like, oh, I'm annoyed I didn't play in the playoffs, but I want to be back in New York. They saved me from Chicago. Like, it sounded like Chicago was freaking prison. Like, they made it sound like Chicago was prison for these players. And it's clear that at least the players, even if they leave, their relationships with Indiana seem to be pretty good. And not only with Indiana Fever, the organization, with the city of Indianapolis, I think. With their relationship with the city of Indianapolis, their relationship with the fans seems to be pretty good. And it just seems to be an all-around good organization to play for. It seems like it is a pretty good organization to play for, and an organization that a lot of players who played there are happy there. And I mean, I think playing in front of those fans, unless you quit on the team, and if you're willing to take the hate for no reason, which clearly they signed a player who just don't want to deal with that. If you're willing to shut off the rest of the WNBA and look at them as they are, as in rivals, if you're willing to not go into this, and by the way, anyone who talks about this buddy culture in the WNBA, the Aces aren't buddy with anybody. If they are buddy with teams, it's the Atlanta Dream, and that's to use that to their advantage. That's why they didn't want to face the Fever. They knew Alicia Gray was just going to roll over and let them win. They knew Kelsey Mitchell wasn't. But yeah, it's an interesting one to see. But Sophie Cunningham not guaranteed to be gone anyway, so look, it's something, I guess. It is something. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.